In the past few weeks, I've been shocked by the many accusations of sexual assault that girls I know made, and they said that they were assaulted by guys I know. It just feels like a never-ending cycle. Girls denounce, we listen to them, and then we just forget. Obviously, there has been some improvement in the last few years. More and more women speak publicly about their assaults. There is more awareness surrounding this kind of situation in the community. But rape culture is so ingrained in our society that it has become difficult to let it go. Rape culture is defined as a concept that links sexual assault with the culture of a society that trivializes, tolerates, and even condones sexual violence. Our culture inevitably determines our modes of socialization linked to our way of thinking, acting, and feeling. This encompasses many elements such as customs, standards, or even artistic material productions. Being a fervent lover of cinema, I'm well aware that many movies are part of rape culture. But how is rape culture normalized in movies? To highlight some problematic situations and behaviors that are part of rape culture, I will present 3 scenes from various movies from different eras. To make things clear, consent refers to an agreement between 2 persons engaging in a sexual activity that has to be made freely and with enlightenment. Consent can be removed at any given moment. Intoxication, manipulation, or being under 16 are examples of non-consensual situations. Any sexual activity or sexual gesture made without consent is described as a sexual assault. Now that those cards are on the table, let's begin with the first movie on my list, Blade Runner. It was only recently that I watched the sci-fi classic Blade Runner. I had heard nothing but good reviews about the movie, that it was a masterpiece from the visionary Ridley Scott. When I started watching the movie with my sister, I was charmed. The somewhat creepy vibe of a dystopian world where replicants, androids, are hounded down immediately appealed to me. It's about halfway through the movie that my sister and I looked at each other saying, that's rape. The scene I'm about to show is a perfect example of predatory romance. That means a romantic relationship between 2 persons that has a dynamic of predator and prey.
To better understand this scene, you should know that Rick Deckard is a Blade Runner, or a replicant hunter. Rachel, on the other hand, is, spoiler alert, a replicant who thinks she's human. The 2 are in Deckard's apartment playing the piano. Rachel has just learned that she's not really human and that her memories are actually those of her creator's niece. Out of the blue, and without any agreement from Rachel, Deckard kisses her neck and then tries to kiss her on the mouth. She backs up, gets up, and walks towards the door. He stops her from leaving, takes her by force, and pushes her violently on a window. She's scared stiff, quite literally. Rachel cries softly as he kisses her forcefully.
Romantic music. Really?
He says to her, "Now kiss me," and forces her to kiss him. It all ends up in a hug that indicates they are sure to have sex.
This, as a whole, is played out like a romantic scene, while Deckard is actually acting as a predator, using violence on Rachel and manipulating her into a sexual situation she clearly does not want. How many young men have listened to this scene thinking to themselves, "Oh, if the girl says no, she actually means yes." The second movie that really shows rape cultures in movies is American Pie. American Pie is a teenage comedy with some very risque scenes that follows a group of 4 teenage boys: Jim, Oz, Finch, and Kevin. They're about to finish high school. So, the group decides to make a pact. They have to lose their virginity before the end of the school year. The premise of the film shows a certain toxic masculinity. Indeed, the obsession with losing their virginity before going to college puts unnecessary pressure on the 4 boys who feel obligated to sleep with a girl just to meet superfluous standards they set themselves. However, I want to show a recurring theme in the movie, which is the sexualization of women. This refers to giving a sexual innuendo to a non-sexual behavior.
In the scene in question, Nadia, a foreign student, has just asked Jim if he could help her study at his place. The only problem is that when she arrives at his house, she has just come back from her ballet practice and therefore needs to change. Jim then offers her to change into his room. So far, nothing to worry about. However, encouraged by his friends and Stifler, who has a very predatory behavior throughout the movie, Jim decides that this is a golden opportunity. He can film Nadia changing in his bedroom and broadcast it live to his friends. Nadia is therefore filmed naked without her knowing it, and Jim even tries to sleep with her while the camera is still filming. The next day, Jim, who mistakenly shared the video to the whole school and not just to his friends, becomes the school laughingstock because he was unable to sleep with Nadia. The problem with this scene is that Jim isn't ostracized for sharing Nadia's naked image. He's rather ridiculed for getting too turned on by her and therefore coming too quickly. As for Nadia, who has done nothing wrong, she's just sent home, ruining her trip.
This scene is played for laughs, but it actually encourages the sexualization of young women. The viewer itself feels like a voyeur, intruding into Nadia's privacy. Is Jim ever punished by the school for his actions? Of course not. It's only Nadia that gets scolded. She never gave her consent. She must feel betrayed and humiliated that hundreds of people have seen her naked body. Women have the right to be in control of their own image, and what Jim did is an assault on Nadia's privacy and dignity. The last movie I want to explore is The Kissing Booth. The film follows Elle, a 16-year-old girl who falls in love with her best friend's older brother after they make it a rule not to date each other's family members. She must then decide between love and friendship. This cliché romantic comedy is tinged with such an obvious patriarchy that it becomes, on several occasions, difficult to watch without being disgusted. Indeed, it participates to rape culture by victim blaming its protagonist after she gets assaulted. Victim blaming occurs when the victim of a crime is held responsible for the crimes that have been committed against them.
In the scene that I'm about to show, Elle is forced to put on a skirt that is too short for herself because she has nothing else to wear. When she arrives at school, one of her nitwit colleagues, Tuppen, grabs her butt. Elle's best friend therefore tries to defend her, but before he does anything, his older brother, Noah, starts to fight with Tuppen. Noah, Tuppen, and Elle are therefore sent to the principal's office. A tête-à-tête ensues between Noah and Elle as they wait outside of the headmaster's office. Now listen carefully to this exchange.
Besides, no one should treat a girl like that, especially if that girl's you.
Well, nobody should be treated like that, but I understand that he has a special attachment with her since she's a family friend.
It's like those guys were trying to get in my little sister's pants, which is super gross.
The problem isn't that someone is interested in her. It's actually that she got assaulted by a guy.
Wearing a skirt like that is asking for it.
This sentence is a perfect example of victim blaming.
Her assault was not her fault, but her assailant's. What she wears has no connection. She then gets detention for wearing such a short skirt, and Tuppen is never punished for his actions.
This chick flick gives a very problematic idea to young girls. If you get assaulted, it's your fault. This creates a stigma around assault. Women feel ashamed and feel like they're responsible for their assault, when that is not their fault at all. If those three scenes can show us something, it's that rape culture is normalized in popular movies by showing, for example, predatory romance, the sexualization of women's bodies, and victim-blaming characters. Rape culture has been around us, and for too long. It is important to really understand what behaviors are part of rape culture, since those behaviors are harmful for everyone. Whether it is for girls who feel scared when they go out because they feel like they're gonna get attacked, or for young boys that feel like they need to have this predatory behavior towards women to really be part of society.